Good morning. It is Wednesday, March 27th. Here's what we're working on. 6 workers are presumed dead after yesterday's bridge collapse in Baltimore.
Government Ontario has tabled its 2024 budget.
And Sean Combs facing mounting legal problems as U.S. federal agents search his properties. How you doing there? Emily is in again for Brian Wood doing quadruple duty.
I said I was having so much fun yesterday, Brian. Just take another day.
Yeah,
It's fine.
I hope he's feeling better.
Yeah, me too.
That rain really cleaned things up, though, didn't it, yesterday?
How's your car look, Tim?
Yeah, pretty good.
Yes.
Sidewalks around here didn't.
Salt is gone.
Salt is gone. So yeah, A-OK. What do we got today?
Well, there is still a chance to see a little bit more rain in the forecast throughout the day today, but it is really just a chance of showers, temperatures getting up to about 9 degrees yesterday. Today, we're expecting a daytime high of 8. Before we get to your forecast details, quick look at traffic. 403 Waterdown Road looking good. Of course, volume is starting to build at this hour. We're just at the beginning of rush hour at 6 o'clock in the morning. We are going to continue to see showers on and off throughout the day, so that could impact your travel this morning. Taking a look at some of the MTO cameras, we've got QEW at Guelph Line. Everybody moving well. QEW east of Brant Street, again, traffic moving smoothly, but you can see wet roads. QEW at Fairview also looking good. And we are going to have more on your forecast, plus your 7-day. We'll get you into Easter weekend, but first, the news.
Okay, thanks very much, Simone. Well, 6 construction workers are presumed dead this morning after that catastrophic bridge collapse in Baltimore. The Francis Scott Key Bridge collapsed early yesterday morning after a shipping vessel lost power and hit one of its support beams. The ship did send out a mayday call around 1:30 in the morning as it lost propulsion and dropped anchors. That was an emergency measure just before the crash. Officials say 8 people were on the bridge. They were part of a construction crew during pothole repairs when it collapsed. 6 are missing this morning. The U.S. Coast Guard suspended their search for the workers last night. The U.S. National Transportation Safety Board is investigating.
So in the wake of that disaster, Canadian authorities are reassuring the public about the safety of bridges in this country. That includes on the St. Lawrence Seaway.
We have locks, bridge, and a dike that have infrastructure that will stop the vessel before it would hit something of the nature you saw in Baltimore.
Canada's bridge code requires piers to be protected if they are considered vulnerable to ship strikes. So Quebec's Transport Department, which is responsible for several bridges spanning the St. Lawrence, said one of their bridges underwent a huge project in the 80s to create protective islands around its piers. That project likely helped avert disaster when a ship ran aground instead of hitting the bridge. This is back in 1992. Likewise, in Atlantic Canada, Halifax Harbour Bridges says it is notified by the Port Authority every time a commercial vessel is scheduled to pass. They also get further protection from the rock islands that were built around the piers back in 1983.
The Ontario government has unveiled plans to spend $214 billion in its latest budget. The deficit is projected to be $9.8 billion for the coming fiscal year. It's almost double what the project projected in the fall economic update. Ontario's Finance Minister Peter Bethlenfalvy now says a surplus won't happen until 2026-27. Bethlenfalvy says he made a choice to increase the deficit rather than cutting spending or raising taxes or fees.
It has been a challenging year. Life has rarely been this expensive. The Bank of Canada has for months now repeatedly raised interest rates at a big pace. Global economies have slowed, the cost of everything is higher, and so we've had 2 choices. Put the brakes on or keep going. Mr. Speaker, we choose to keep going to rebuild Ontario's economy because it is the right thing to do.
The budget includes $190 billion over the next 10 years to build critical infrastructure. That includes expanding highways, transit, homes, and high-speed internet. $1 billion is set aside for a new municipal housing infrastructure program to support core projects to build new housing in developing communities. As for new spending, there's an additional $2 billion over 3 years for home and community care.
Well, opposition leaders at Queen's Park have been quick to criticize the Ford government's budget, saying the government is not spending enough to make life more affordable for Ontarians.
That the government laid out today helps hardworking people breathe a sigh of relief or gives them confidence that what's causing them stress matters to their government.
This is a do-nothing budget. It's not even worth the paper it's written on. Families and businesses in Ontario are hurting, and Doug Ford is choosing to do nothing for you.
So the new budget doesn't cut spending or raise taxes, but any increases are modest, like an increase in healthcare spending of 1.3%, below the rate of inflation.
As for the nearly $2 billion the province is spending for housing and water infrastructure for municipalities, municipal officials say it's not nearly enough to cover the cost.
It's about less than a third of what we need. Give you an idea, over the next 10 years, municipalities are estimated spending $250 billion. And of that, $100 billion is growth related.
The province's housing starts are projected to rise over the next several years, but the numbers are still far below what's needed to meet their target of 1.5 million homes built by 2031. The Ontario government also says they'll empower cities to impose taxes on vacant homes for additional revenue. But there are calls for more money on matters like affordability and homelessness. Now, Burlington City Council wants Mayor Marianne Mead Ward to give up some of her strong mayor powers. They include the ability to hire and fire certain key staff. They also give Ontario mayors the ability to create certain committees, appoint members, and veto things. It's all aimed at helping Ontario's housing crisis. Several Burlington councillors voiced their displeasure for the Ford government policy, calling it undemocratic. At a special meeting, a resolution that asked the mayor to delegate those powers passed with unanimous support. Burlington's mayor says she'll consider the request, but emphasizes that the provincial legislation says only some of those powers can be given up.
I supported the request, them making the request. It's something that I said at the time I need to give it some thoughtful consideration, which I will. And I do note that some mayors across the province have not just delegated or offloaded the duties, they have done so with some guidelines. And I think that's a really thoughtful approach. So I've asked, council to give me some time to be thoughtful about it. And I'll be reporting back to council on or before the next council meeting.
Mead Ward says potential guidelines she may add if she agreed to delegate would be around the hiring of staff. The next Burlington Council meeting is April 16th, and the mayor is expected to have a decision then.
Into the home stretch of the NHL season, Maple Leafs, they have a dozen games left heading into their game last night with the Devils. They're going to play Devils 3 times in the final stretch as Austin Matthews closes in on his career high in goals.
For Labushkin. Lead pass finds Matthews. Matthews in a number, shoots, scores! Austin Matthews strikes!
Number 59 for Matthews to put the Leafs up in the second period. So he is now only one away from his career high of 60 that he scored 2 years ago in his MVP season. We'll pass that and try to get to the elusive 70-goal club. Not to be outdone, Willie Nylander might be the Leafs' best player this season. He scored number 40 of the year just before Austin. He now has 94 points, one better than number 34. Despite the big guy scoring, New Jersey did more as they put this one away in the third. Jack Hughes, he scored twice. Leafs have dropped 2 straight. 6-3 the final. They welcome Alex Ovechkin and the Capitals to town tomorrow.
Here comes Zach Hyman. Nugent Hopkins gives it to him. Hyman for the win. A backhand. Rebound score. Zach Hyman.
All-Canadian matchup in Winnipeg, and Zach Hyman kept his scoring touch going, notching number 51 in overtime to give the Oilers the 4-3 win and snapped a 2-game slide for them. Hyman is tied with Florida's Sam Reinhart for second in the league in goals behind Matthews. Connor McDavid had 2 helpers. He now has 93 assists on the season. Jets, they've dropped 4 straight as they push for the playoffs.
Caulfield couldn't pick it up. Ather able to keep it in. Deflected far side shot.
In Colorado, the Avs looking for a 10th straight win, and MVP favorites Nathan MacKinnon kept his amazing run going at home, scoring in the opening minute to extend his run on home ice to 35 games. He's got a point in every single one of their home games, which is second only behind Wayne Gretzky, who had a streak of 40 back in 1989 with the Kings. But the Habs ruined the party. Nick Suzuki scoring off the ensuing faceoff. They would score the winner just a little bit later in the first. Sam Montembeault would make 27 saves to halt the streak at 9. Montreal, they win it 2-1. Okay, to the NBA, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander coming off an off night in Milwaukee where he only scored 12 points. Much better for his OKC Thunder as they visited those scary Pelicans in New Orleans. Got out to a big lead with FGA leading the way. He dropped 24. However, they had to rally after blowing that 20-point lead, going on a 12-0 run late to win 119-112, stay pace with Denver. The top spot in the West, only a half game back. And let's finish up in Europe, where Europe Cup qualifying wrapped up yesterday. What a special moment for Ukraine. After all the country has been through since the war began, they will be able to cheer for their team in this year's Euros in Germany coming up in June. They beat Iceland 2-1 on a goal in the 84th minute to book one of the final spots in the summer tournament. Since the war began, they have been unable to play home matches, with this one taking place in Poland. Now, Poland is another country that booked their ticket into Germany Euro Cup in June. And how about Georgia, who made history, reaching their first ever major tournament with a penalty shootout win over Greece? Their supporters loving it. And they ran onto the pitch to celebrate qualifying for the first time after 15 failed attempts.
Wow. All right, before we get to your forecast details, let's take a look at some of our exclusive cameras. We're looking at the 403 and Wander Down Road. Everybody moving well. Roads a little wet. We're seeing isolated showers here and there for the next couple of hours, but the day is going to be mostly dry. At QEW at Cawthra, we are looking good. Everybody moving well. Again, at the 401 Airport Road, things are looking good. 400 in Langstaff, again, traffic moving smoothly, no major issues to report on. And now we're going to take a look at some of your forecast conditions. Right now, we're 6 degrees through Hamilton, 7 through Grimsby, 8 through Mississauga, 6 through Toronto. Throughout the day today, temperatures seasonal. We're looking at a daytime high of 8, southwesterly winds 20 to 40 kilometers an hour. But again, we do have that lingering chance of a few isolated showers throughout the day today, so keep that in mind if you're heading out. You may want to pack the umbrella just in case. Tonight, cold, dropping down to -4, but feeling more like -8 when you factor in the wind. We can thank those westerly winds. They had a ton of snow up towards northern Ontario, and all that cold air, that's going to be pushing towards us throughout the overnight with those winds. Now, throughout the day tomorrow, it's going to be another decent day. We're looking at 7 degrees, dry for the city of Hamilton, a mix of sun and cloud. More cloud than sun, unfortunately, but again, that southwesterly flow picking back up. So here's that cold front that just passed its way through southern Ontario, and that's why we're going to see those overnight temperatures as cool as they are. But as you can see, a break in the cloud cover, and we are going to be seeing some sunshine by Thursday. The long weekend is actually looking really, really good. It looks as though we are going to be seeing some sunshine for Good Friday, for Saturday, and even into Sunday. That's when things start to take a bit of a turn. Could see some showers beginning into early next week. But for the most part, it's going to be a good weekend for the Easter Bunny. You can hide all those eggs. Well, they're going to hide all the eggs. You can find all of the eggs is what I meant to say. It's going to be a good one.
Outdoor Easter egg hunts, you think?
Yeah, absolutely.
Not muddy.
Sunshine, temperatures up until like double-digit territory.
Nice. I got in the car today, actually, it said 10 degrees. I like that. Was it a little off?
Well, no, it could be a little bit warmer.
Well, but then
depending on what neighborhood you're in.
But then I was coming to work, it got to 7. But then when I got to work, it said 10 again. So maybe I'll get that looked at.
I'm like,
Maybe Bev's giving a faulty temperature reading.
Like, do I need to look at something? Maybe. I'll check the forecast
Maybe don't
models
trust
again.
Bev. Trust your forecast, I think.
Okay.
What do you got in Chit Chat?
All right, well, P. Diddy, he's in trouble. Authorities are searching his home. We talked about it yesterday. We'll have an update on that today. And Arnold Schwarzenegger is actually becoming more like the Terminator. We'll tell you why coming up.
Okay, we'll see the coach.
All right, coming up after the break in business news, the Bank of Canada says this country is in the grips of a productivity emergency. We'll explain coming up next. Coming up on 6:17 on your Wednesday morning, Canadian dollar has dropped 9 basis points in overseas trading to 73.52 cents U.S. Gold is up almost $10, while crude oil is down 73 cents to $80.89 a barrel. Midday trading in Europe, markets are down in London and Paris, up just a bit in Frankfurt.
Off to Asia we go. Markets are up in Tokyo, down in Hong Kong and Shanghai. Let's check in on North American markets, who wrapped up the trading day on Tuesday with some losses across the board. Nothing too substantial, but they were all in the red. Let's see if they can get back into the green when markets open on this Wednesday, March the 27th.
The Bank of Canada is warning that weak productivity and low business investment have become a national emergency. The bank says Canada has fallen far behind the United States when it comes to how much our economy produces based on the number of hours of work. So in 1984, our economy produced 88% of the value that was generated by the United States per hour. But by 2022, that number dropped to 71%. Canada is also falling behind its G7 peers, and the central bank believes that's because of a lack of investment in machinery, equipment, and intellectual property, as well as weak internal competition in Canada.
So the province says Ontario drivers could soon cut insurance costs by opting for less coverage. Reforms proposed in yesterday's budget say medical, rehab, and attendant care coverage would still be mandatory, but all other benefits would become optional. The government argues that if drivers have access to certain benefits through workplace plans, for example, they shouldn't have to pay twice through their auto insurance policy. The proposed changes also include making auto insurance pay for medical and rehabilitation benefits before drivers put those costs through extended health care plans.
2 more beluga whales at Niagara Falls Marineland have died this month. Marineland says it deployed, quote, valiant medical efforts to assist the whales, but independent necropsies say they died of an abnormal twisting of the stomach. 17 whales at that park have died in the last 5 years. Ontario's Animal Welfare Services has been investigating Marineland since 2020. Concerns about animal welfare at the park raised by former staff and animal advocacy groups, though, go back more than a decade. Marineland says all of its whales are under constant weekly supervision, including oversight by a government regulator, and they are cared for every day by in-house vets.
Stateside we go because the U.S. has given final approval to a massive new wind farm off the East Coast. It's expected to produce enough power for more than 320,000 homes in New York. Sunrise Wind is expected to be the nation's largest wind farm once it's completed in 2026. This is all part of a partnership between Denmark and Massachusetts, 2 of the companies in each of the state and the country. In a statement, the Interior Department said the project would create about 800 jobs during construction and 300 during operation. So the Danish company is negotiating final terms for the project's 25-year contract. The company plans to acquire Eversource of Massachusetts' 50% stake in the project, but the utility company will lead the project's onshore construction.
Donald Trump's social media platform Truth Social has gone public on the NASDAQ exchange. It got off to a strong start, surging 50% at opening yesterday. Wall Street valued Trump Media at about $14 billion U.S. Trump's stake in that is worth nearly $6 billion U.S. at opening, but it stabilized a bit later yesterday to about $4.5 billion. Some experts warn, though, that that price isn't in line with reality. With skyrocketing share price comes the skyrocketing share price came even though Truth Social is losing users.
Okay, we're going to take another quick break. So the calendar does say Wednesday, but in the work week and the school week, we're a day ahead of that because it's a short week for so many people. We'll have
not for us.
Yeah, we'll be here. We'll have the forecast too right after this.
It's Wednesday. It is March 27th. We are getting you going. If you're just heading out the door, taking a look at some of your MTO cameras, we're going to take you from Third Line all the way to Guelph Line. Things are looking good. Yeah, there's a little bit of volume. We've got some wet roads, so you may want to give yourself a little bit of extra travel time. QEW at Appleby looking good. Traffic moving nicely through Walker's Line by the looks of it. Camera can be a little dicey sometimes. QEW east of Guelph Line, everybody also moving well. All right, the rain that's coming in, that's what's giving us those wet roads. We have been dealing with a few isolated showers pushing through the region throughout the overnight hours. That will ease throughout the day today. We are going to be seeing some sunshine throughout the afternoon. 8 degrees is our daytime high. Now, that's mild. That's seasonal. Should be around 7, so give or take. Southwesterly winds helping to keep us mild at 20 to 40 kilometers an hour. Tonight, -4, but feeling more like -8. Thanks, westerly winds pushing all that cold air from northern Ontario into our region. And then throughout the day tomorrow, good day. We're looking at 7 degrees, a mix of sun and clouds, southwesterly flow, again, 20 to 40 kilometers. Quick look at the 7-day forecast. As we get closer to the long weekend, the forecast starts to improve. So we're looking at 6 degrees, but more sunshine throughout the day on Friday. And then look at Saturday. Watch out, bunnies. We're coming for you. 9 degrees. And then on Sunday, we're looking at 6, a mix of sun and cloud. And then for Monday, a little cooler, but still a peak of sunshine coming through, a daytime high of 3 degrees. More new forecast coming up, but first, the news.
Okay, too tired to exercise? Well, trying just a little bit of movement could help you sleep better.
Let's go to Iceland because researchers there followed more than 4,300 people over a 10-year period. They found those who exercised on a regular basis were 55% more likely to be normal sleepers, getting between 6 and 9 hours of sleep a night.
In one night?
I don't know.
What's
I think
that?
it has to be spread over 2.
Must be.
So this study will prompt more doctors to prescribe exercise along with medication and therapy to patients with insomnia.
Yeah, and that doesn't mean that you've got to run a marathon. Like, it could be something like just getting out in the fresh air and...
Or even, you know what, taking the stairs rather than the escalator.
Yep.
Just doing something like that. That little thing kind of adds up.
It helps us.
Yeah, I will. And while you're taking your stairs, I'll watch you on the escalator. Good for you. Good job. Well done.
Yes.
Half hour down. Lots more to come.